Right. So, hello everyone. I'm gonna be reading this lovely fan fiction here by Ghostcake here. It's called "Stuck Between a Goose and a Jaeger," and it certainly has some tags, all right. I've read fan fiction before. I haven't read any for Outlast, and I haven't read any like fan fictions in general that have any of these kinds of tags. So I'm sure it's gonna be fun. Uh, but let me take a read at some of these. Got El Boza here. Surveillance cameras. Reagent reader dies. Sorry. Okay. Uh, takes takes place in escalation therapy. Variators will be Jaeger, primetime, hell sickness. Or actually, that can't exist. Um, no running surveillance cameras, and psychosis was from a previous trial. All right. So this is Ghostcake's very first Outlast fic. Isn't my usual fandom I write for, so sorry if anything is out of context. This was sparked from a convo with other Outlast players and a spur of the moment creativity with game mechanics. So the muse called and I answered. Gotta show love. Gotta show my Outlast trials women some love. So, anyways, what is it? 5,336 words. I probably should be able to knock this out within like the next half an hour or so. All right, so you see the disclaimer up here already, and you've already seen the tags. So I don't know if you're not, if this isn't your cup of tea, then probably go reading somewhere else. I'd assume. But either way, let's continue, I guess. And okay, here's the all of the tags again. All right. Anyways, stuck between a goose and a Jaeger by Ghost Cakes. Summary takes place in Oh, wait, never mind. I've already read this part already. Glass crunched underneath your worn soles, the sound echoing in your ears, the walls of the trial swaying and pulsating, enticing. How familiar everything felt as psychosis was just on the brink of teetering you into Skierman's embrace. Running through these trials felt like a nightmare and solace all in one, a place for your mind to slink back into itself as you indulged in whatever twisted shit Easterman had planned. With a jolt, you were ripped over your dazed walking, the tentacle rising from the floor swiping at your tired form. How long have you been in this hellscape? How many trials had you done? How were the other experimental population not exhausted as you were? The Aesop straps were dug into your shoulders, grabbing a sore spot through your sweat and blood-soaked clothes. New kind of therapy, my ass. Bitter thoughts swirled in your head. Had it been multiple hours? Did it really matter? Your exhausted legs carried you to a greenish-yellowish container, glass shining in a way that caught your eye immediately. Glass breaking filled your ears, your fingers curling around the pill bottle that desperately gave you some form of life to go on. Swallowing thickly, you popped the top off and tipped the bottle up to your lips, the small pill falling to the back of your throat and almost choking you with how dry your mouth was. With the swivel of your head, your eyes lazily drank in the drab and gored scenery in front of you. Camera swiveled, red lights illuminating areas you desperately try to tuck yourself into to avoid getting seen. The sound was definitely loud. Mechanical words raising the hair on the back of your neck as images of Jaeger flashed from the previous trial. Watching your teammate get their body tossed lifelessly to the side wasn't a shock. It was the way she turned and locked eyes on you, a desperation for something that rivaled your own desperation to survive. Something stirred in you, madness gripping you like a vice. Everyone could feel it, the trial shifting to a slower, more methodological pace. Your feet carried you slowly, avoiding to move too quickly out of fear of triggering the shock from your Aesop. One adrenaline syringe was all you had, and you weren't feeling too great with having only one pill in your system. Sweat dripped down your face, a tang of iron and salt left on your tongue as you licked your lip anxiously. Fingers gripped your rig, nose digging into the metal pieces as you gritted your teeth and slowly crept your way along the wall of the motel that stretched way too far for your liking. Collecting fluids to jab some poor sap with STD liquid wasn't exactly on your list of things to do. and yet here you are, from pouring acid on a dead body, watching your last teammate get killed by the Jaeger, and now you're in the downtown. Shitty luck with shitty well, I guess it should be variators that Easterman must have handpicked himself to finally end this damned new therapy. Lowering onto your haunches, a crying groan barely slipped past your lips. Every movement was agony on your sore limbs, muscles twitching and spasming as you tried to creep around. Getting into the sewers would be easiest from the motel, and yet it felt like ages had passed uh, by the time you snuck inside and down the stairs. Mumbled breaths were barely audible as you repeated yourself, "Old subway, old subway." Items were scarce as your eyes tiredly scanned, listening for the heavy breathing of Franco. An opportunity to take the shortcut into the sewers would be your best ticket to where you needed to go without making too much noise. Alright, so we're playing Spread the Disease here. So I like to call it the Coster Special, but anyways. Honestly speaking, it's actually fairly well written. Uh, I, I've heard some scary things from other people. Where it's like, is essentially like, what the fuck am I reading? But honestly, I'm having a good time reading this. It's not as bad as I expected currently. I don't know. Maybe it's just the therapy's getting to me. I don't know. Anyways, it didn't take long. Night vision allowing you to watch as he crawled from under the small opening leading to the upper sewers. His usual chatter was silenced. Movement sloppy as exhaustion seemed to also be hitting the prime assets. With a huff, you quietly hopped over the bed you were crouched behind, watching his flowing retreat out of the motel and outside. Quietly crawling your way to the opening, you pulled yourself into the muddy water of the sewers. Your skin crawled as your clothes only became more damp, open cuts and wounds festering with God knows what kinds of bacteria. With a swivel of your head, you slowly made your way down into the lower sewers, watching for camera lights and the giant that stalked the passageways. As if mocking your carefulness, the siren blared the insertion gate echoed as if you were underwater. No antidote in sight to fix the psychosis that infected your mind, yet your thoughts were halted as the siren continued, a familiar mechanical voice echoing off the vast sewer walls. With an instant, Henrietta's tall form turned to you, left eye shining with the very same desperation that tugged at something in your body. Her grumbles of Dory fell on deaf ears as you stood, walking as fast as you could towards another open passage to get into the subway. Opening the lever gate was all you needed, and exactly what you planned on doing. Maybe it was a one-time insertion. Maybe you get lucky and lock her out where she couldn't rip you apart with her hands. A strange nausea washed over you as the thought, body burning with a feverish delirium while you pulled at the lever. Her footsteps tendrilled, impossible to pinpoint at her exact location as your hallucinations began again. Tendrils spawned like magic, dredging themselves from this floor and swaying mesmerizingly as the gate opened, beckoning you into the objective room. With an unexpected quickness, you threw yourself inside the room, playing with enough time for the gate to close and lock out Jaeger's approaching form. The jolt that went through your body plucked a hiss from your throat. Too much movement. Much too quick. Your eyes darted between the gate timer and Jaeger, her footsteps thudding louder than your own heartbeat in your ears. Sorry, let me get a drink of water here. Nausea spread through your wildfire as the insurgent gate siren blared again, the yellow light pulling your attention away from Henrietta. Whatever scientist felt like telling a cruel joke was doing a good job. The deafening sound of a drill filling the room as Gooseberry stepped from the open doors. Alright, so we got Gooseberry here. I know, technically speaking, this isn't impossible because you can't combine the Jaeger variator with primetime. But anyways, I'm enjoying this. Where was I? A deafening sound is Gooseberry stepping over. Oh yeah. Your heart skipped a beat. The overwhelming desire to vomit barely keeping you from falling over. Every breath felt agonizing as a squirming discomfort wormed its way past the encroaching psychosis hallucination. With a tight throat, you barely stepped back in time so she didn't walk into you. Her chattering was quiet, breathing heavier with a drill coated in so much blood it was a shock that her father wasn't dyed completely red. Examining the prime assets wasn't exactly part of your objective task. And yet here you were watching the way her shoulders slumped, hair matted and sweaty. They were trapped in here just as much as you were. Only the danger they posed was far greater than you could ever dream of performing. The gate trying to pull you from watching Gooseberry, your legs absent-mindedly backing yourself closer towards the subway platform edge. Camera swiveled as fear gripped your chest, Jaeger's hand gripping the bottom of the gate, her lumbering body easily stooping underneath the gate that closed just 1 second too late. Her eyes shone with your night vision, trained on you with a bottomless hunger, her own desire cast aside in favor of performing Murkoff's bidding. Deft hands moved without a second thought, fumbling to grab the adrenaline syringe as you position yourself to approach a further lever gate. Being in an enclosed room with Jaeger and Gooseberry was not an ideal position, and the one syringe you had would most likely come in handy. With a quick jump to the subway train car, you winced at the sudden jolt before creeping your way through the train car. Gooseberry's drilled word, her footsteps moving away from the gate you aimed to get to, an opportunity you couldn't afford to not take. Each step felt agonizing, your body running on fumes as your hand stretched to grab the lever. Each light on the lever gave you a sliver of hope to not die an agonizing death at the hands of Henrietta herself. The gate opening brought you more hope than you anticipated, yet the giant standing outside the subway was soul-crushing. Crushing once more, you waited at the open gate as the giant moved, ears acutely attuned to the sound of Jaeger getting closer and closer. It wasn't until the sound of the drill roared in your ears that you shoved the adrenaline needle into your arm, leaping from a crouching position to run outside the confines of the subway. Adrenaline coursed your form, heart being loud enough to make you deaf. A large hand wrapped around your ankle the second the light of the sewers caressed your bruised and battered form. With a splash, your hands desperately tried to catch your fall, splattering water and failing to keep your e-stop from digging painfully into your chest as the hard floor connected with the large metal. Quicker than you could react, your body was yanked backwards, Gooseberry's voice echoing in tandem with Jaeger's helmet radio instructions. You little brat. Have you been hiding? Oh, it is Gooseberry. Gooseberry talking. How does Gooseberry sound? You. Holy, let me. If I'm gonna try and imitate her, I'm gonna have to get some water. How the fuck does she sound? It's like. Shit. You little brat. Have you been trying to hide from mother this whole time? That's not what she sounds like. Holy shit. Okay, anyways, don't worry about that. Gooseberry's words sent chills down your spine as the world flipped, your body lifting off the floor by your ankle. With scrambling hands, you ripped the stun off your e-stop and lobbed it in front of you, hoping it would be enough to break free from Jaeger's grip. Her grip loosened, just enough to wriggle free and crash back onto the floor. Your joy was short-lived, however, as the lever gate swiftly closed right as you got free, the sound of Henrietta stepping closer to you only further sinking you into the depths of your desperation. A caged animal you were turned into, and anything to keep from an agonizing death. You spun your hero, back pressing against the closed gate as your eyes darted between Gooseberry's stunned form and Jaeger's imposing figure standing within reach. I'll do anything, you spat, raspy voice that barely recognized your own, legs shaking from exhaustion and adrenaline. Just kill me, quick. I don't want to be tortured. We're all tired. We're all exhausted. I just want to go back to my sleep room in one piece. You pleaded, metal digging into your back as you pressed further into it. That's it? That's all you have to say for yourself? Drag us to the downtown shithole and whimper and whine about the whiny things we hear from every day from other chumbo shits like yourself? Gooseberry's voice deepened, her body slowly standing straight back up as the stun duration wore off. The Dr. Futterman mouth moved, mimicking the voice coming from Gooseberry's closed mouth. It suddenly darted closer towards you, a single step from her bringing the drill much too close for your comfort. You hurt my daughter? You run us around these fucking places, and you have the balls to plead for something like us? Absolutely pathetic. I should drill. Her voice cut off suddenly, her free hand suddenly grabbing the neck of the puppy to pull it closer to her body. Voice suddenly rising on all of two familiar faces. Daddy, why didn't you help? Whoa, Leo, what the fuck did I just do? Daddy, why don't you let me handle this one? I had the most wonderful idea. Okay, now I just sound like fucking Mickey Mouse. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing with these voice imitations. Jesus Christ. Anyways, where is I? Oh. The rasp of Henrietta's hitched breath filled the silence of Gooseberry's chilled off thoughts. The gap closing quickly between you two. Her head lowered, staring down at you like she was staring at a pet. That look at her eye was back, a desperation and a hunger that glinted with malice. Phyllis, for God's sake, at least cover my eyes. The cheerful voice of Gooseberry was lost in the favor of deeper and more masculine voice once again as Dr. Futterman and her conversed between themselves. It would have normally pulled a laugh from you, but the rising panic in your throat and your quickly oh it would have normally pulled a laugh at you, but the rising panic in your throat and your quickened breathing quickly silenced any humor from the situation held. Gooseberry's imposing form quickly closed in on your quartered self, your body shrinking towards the floor as the two stood over you, eyes darting crazily between both of them. The air felt still, stagnant, and heavy, with the sound of sweat and blood. Oh, with the smell of sweat and blood. Neither made a move to grab at you, both waiting as the pounding sound of your heart barely drowned out both of their breathing. Hesitation was never a good thing from the experimental population, especially with the position you found yourself in. Nausea washed over you once more, a coiling fear worming its way towards... What the fuck? I can't read. Nausea washed over you once more, a coiling fear worming its way through your crumpled form. Robotic cracking from Jaeger's helmet broke the silence, voices coming through before going completely silent. It was as if a switch had been flipped. Gooseberry suddenly closing in on you, the tip of your jaw from Dr. Futterman pressing roughly against your chin to turn and lift your head. Your vision swam as psychosis gripped you with a vice. Night vision goggles slowly pushed up from your head as if she didn't want you to see your expressions change as she examined your features. It ended quicker than anticipated, the drill retreating back into the darkness of the room. What the fuck? The relief was short-lived, however, as large fingers suddenly pressed against your face and head, curling you to get a better grip over the night vision goggles resting on your face. Oh, on your head. Dude, I can't read. It's nearly 3:20 a.m. Jaeger's palm could easily cover your face, your hands shooting up to grab her at her wrist while she effortlessly lifted you off the floor. What? Her garbled words swirled in your head over and over, the robotic crackle of the radio barely audible over her unexpectedly heavier breathing. Okay, before I start with this next paragraph, I'm going to get some water. Yes, okay. Kicking her legs and clawing at her wrists proved pointless, her strength outmatching yours by leaps and bounds as she carried you away from the gate. Every muscle screamed in protest at the sudden flailing, the sudden shock from your e-stop halting your movements in a form of twisted acceptance. Whatever they ended up doing, there wasn't much else that you could do. Footsteps from both experimental population muddled together as familiar echoes filled the room. Breathing became difficult as Jaeger's palm smashed your nose against your face, mouth gasping tightly underneath the metal-clad flesh. Confusion barely coated the floor that coursed through you as the sudden stillness from Jaeger, hands reaching to grab at her wrist again. The feeling of Gooseberry brushing past made you jolt, body lurching as if expecting pain from the sudden contact. This will be perfect. Her voice was lower than her sickly sweet persona she put on, a more guttural and raspy tone than was normally reserved for when she ended up shoving the drill into someone's skull. Once again, you found yourself crumpled on the floor, brain barely recognizing that Jaeger had let go of your head in favor of shifting closer to the floor. The trip was barely even a couple feet from the gate, the blinking light in the middle of the subway flickering not too far from where you just were. Gooseberry's voice cut through your confused thoughts, her hand grabbing the night vision goggles from somewhere off to your side. A pain yelp barely wormed its way past your split and dry lips, head twisting and neck craning as she harshly yanked you closer to a wooden wall. You said anything! We're just doing what you wanted! The voice of Phyllis was unmistakable as psychosis faded into the background once more. Large hands grabbed at your much smaller. Holy. Large hands grabbed at your much smaller frame, your eyes struggling to look at where exactly Jaeger had moved to. Each twist was what away. Holy, Dude, I need to sleep. Each twist was away from what you assumed was Gooseberry's form to urge you a quick twist and yank to the night vision goggles, keeping your head locked in place to stare up at her. The red light from a surveillance camera swiveling behind her form finally allowed you to better paint a picture as to what was going on, and just exactly the position you found yourself in. The small corner of the old subway had the wooden vault that you'd used many times now, but before it was used. Dude, I can't read. The small corner of the old subway that had the wooden vaults you had used many times before was now being used as a makeshift frame for Gooseberry to lean against. The fabric of her skirt. Oh, okay. I see what's happening now. The fabric of her skirt pulled slightly to the side. Warmth flushed to your face, your eyes barely flicking up to your face to meet her gaze.
Don't be shy now. That expression is far unbecoming of you.
She chided. She chided, your head getting yanked closer between your thighs. The chill were dangerously close to your head, catching a few hairs causing you to flinch. Metal fingertips dug into your hips, suddenly ripping at the seams. Oh. Okay. Okay. I see. Anyways, a familiar yet foreign warmth pulled in your core. Your form yanked up onto your knees to better force your face underneath the heavy fabric of Gooseberry's skirt. It didn't take long for Jaeger to situate herself. A large hand lifted your leg to suddenly shift you on top of her helmet, clad face. When she had laid down, you haven't even noticed. Too busy focusing on the larger woman towering over you. The knowledge she could even lay down hasn't crossed your mind before. But the glint of the lights were unmistakable as the ones on her helmet. Her hands gripped your hips, spreading your lips against the cold metal with a roughness that had you wince. Not being able to use her mouth made things more complicated for her. Yet it didn't take long for her to tilt your hips in a way where the cold metal pressed against your clit. Okay. Now shit starts getting real. Okay. Hopefully my roommates are asleep because I really don't want them to hear what I'm going to be saying here, okay? Anyways, a shock jolted through your body. For one's not from the east up the way down your chest. You didn't need instructions anymore. Your hands moving to part the fabric that was roughly torn open to better access between Gooseberry's thigh. What the fuck is this sentence? Okay. Yeah, okay, never mind. I don't know why that tween is there. No. Anyways, with deft fingers, you spread her lips, tongue instantly flicking out to make small circles around her clit. An approving hum was all you earned, now still Jill pressing against the nape of your neck. Your hips rocked with Jaeger's guiding hands, grinding against the harsh metal in a mixture of painful pressure and overwhelming pleasure. Your own arousal was slow to slick the metal, most likely from the medications that have been mentioned in passing multiple times from other reagents. Each stripe of your tongue pulled a low purr from Gooseberry, her own arousal evident from the wetness soaking your chin. Her leg hooked over your shoulder as you sucked on her clit, tongue returning to making slow circles as you alternate your pattern. Okay, I think from here on out, I'm not going to do voiceovers. No, I'm not imitating Gooseberry or Jaeger's voice. Okay, this is a much better place for you to be than to be crawling through that sewer water. She sighed, her head leaning back slightly, hand pulling on the night vision goggles once more to smash your face further against her folds. Robotic static hummed from Jaeger's equipment, her breathing becoming more labored as she watched your hips twitch and roll against the metal confines. So pretty. Jaeger's grasp was laced with arousal, a free hand shifting off your hips to travel lower, metal fingertips dribbling between your folds. Sweat, blood, and the faint tinge of sweet rot had become part of the background for you. Eyes screwed shut as your tongue made quicker circles, dripping from her clit to lick aside from her entrance back up to the sensitive bundle of nerves. Her hips rocked with your movements, grinding against your face softly. Your hips twitched, spasming in protest from your already strained and exhausted muscles. The sound of blood pumping in your ears became unbearably loud, whispers filling your head as visions of Skinner Man crept into your mind's eye. An antidote would have been a wonderful option before suddenly finding yourself sandwiched between two of the deadliest women in Signala. The whir of the camera was lost in the sound of heavy breathing, radio crackling, and occasional groans. With how tight each one ran to Charles, it didn't come as a surprise they were being quiet. Being too loud may attract unwanted attention from the scientists overseeing this new therapy program. Your eyes rolled desperately. Your eyes rolled back slightly as the ridge of metal pressed against your clit, grinding your hips down in a desperate attempt for more friction. The waves of nausea were slowly ebbed away. Hips down and... Dude, I actually can't read. The waves of nausea were slowly ebbed away, pleasure worming its way through your limbs, your toes curling slightly in your shoes. How long had it been since anyone had touched you? Has anyone touched anyone in Signala? The conversations between the prime assets had lots of arousal-laced invitations. You weren't sure if they could ever truly act on them. Rumors about Doris and Henrietta seemed to ring true in this moment, sneaking away to hidden corners that were blind spots to the scientists. Or maybe they also indulged in watching, taking notes, scribbling on the clean paper-laden desks. The thought blossomed a flash of images, the scientists in their gear chattering away while watching the three of you grind at each other like mangy animals, in an old subway station no less. Camera lights just barely illuminated the back of Gooseberry, washing her silhouette in a vibrant red. It was almost as if they were toying with being caught on camera, this spot particularly picked for a reason. Each trace of thought unraveled in your wary mind, waves of pleasure drowning out any solid assumptions you could make. As if acting on instinct, two fingers gingerly pressed against Gooseberry's core, easily sliding into her with how much slick coated your fingers. A pitiful whine caught in your throat, hips grinding down harder and quicker as you chased your own orgasm. With trembling thighs, your back arched against Jaeger's helmet, eyes suddenly opening to stare at Gooseberry with a half-lit, glazed-over daze. The whir of the drill barely registered in your head, the tip of the metal instrument clipping the nape of your neck just enough to draw blood. With heaving breaths, her leg tensed, pressing down against your shoulder and back as though a louder moan slipped between her lips. Your fingers pumped in and out of her, curling ever so slightly to press against her walls as your tongue lapped at her clit. Dazed and with too much warmth coursing through your body, you barely recognized Jaeger's fingers digging into your hip, too busy chasing your own hide to care about the sudden uncomfortable pressure. Bruises from being battered splashed over your body, cuts and bandages littering your body only where you could reach during the tense trials. It wasn't until your fingers traveled their way up to your abdomen, digging into a bandage gash from a machete, do you flinch and twist against her grip. Your vision swam, light swaying and wavering as if underwater once more. Gooseberry's walls clenched against her fingers, spasming as her orgasm rushed through her. Your own orgasm quickly followed behind, his stuttering and twitching against metal as a combination of harsh pleasure and sharp pain intermingled. Wetness guide against the helmet, leaving a noticeable shine in its wake. They were quick to move, both suddenly letting go and shifting around you as if a practice routine. Okay. It's a good thing my roommates are asleep. I'm just going to say that again. Yes. Moving was not in your plans and things to do, yet you found yourself now shoved roughly on your back, splayed where Gooseberry once leant against the wood panel. Henrietta stood over you. Your own way of keeping your body from slouching was by hooking your arms around her legs. Gooseberry was crouched in front of you, her hands moving to hook your legs over her shoulders. The wood dug into your back, fresh and old wounds alike protesting with a mixture of sharp and dull pulses of pain. The light of the camera shone around the subway, slowly making its way back to where you all were. Just barely missing your form, instead illuminating just behind where Gooseberry was crouched. It's my turn, Jaeger hissed, her hand scooping behind your head to pull you up slightly between her thighs, haphazardly shoving your slick-coated mouth against her folds. Her thighs were quick to close around the sides of her head, the pressure against her temples exacerbating the wooziness from psychosis. Your hands moved to grip the metal braces on her legs, small pinpricks of metal digging into your flesh, drawing just enough blood to drip down your face and her legs. As if noticing your struggle to stay up, her large hand shot up and grabbed your eSop, lifting it slightly with ease to help your chest and back from sagging over the wooden vault. The cold metal of the drill dug inside your inner thigh, Gooseberry's tongue suddenly pressing between your folds to roughly push inside of your core. Normally you'd flinch at the sudden intrusion, yet this time you felt your muscles relax, melting against a borderline foreign touch. Your own tongue moved of its own accord, trailing a stripe from Jaeger's clit towards her entrance, spreading your tongue as flat as possible into your fold. Good girl. The electronic hum from Jaeger's equipment and the pressure of her emaciated thighs pressing against the sides of her head almost made you miss her words. It wasn't like you were her Doris, but any compliment was better than what you normally hear from Easterman. A content moan was plucked from you, the praise repeating in your head repeatedly. Yes, the praise repeating in your head repeatedly. Nice. Each movement of your tongue earned a low grunt of approval from Jaeger, a low and quiet rumble that was pulled from her chest. Your hips moved in tandem with Gooseberry, her tongue curling inside of you, gloved fingers rubbing in circles around your swollen clit. Her drill dug into your thigh as you clenched your legs around her head, the metal bit digging into your exposed flesh. With each rock of your hips, a familiar warmth spread from your core. Each stroke of her fingers, the curl of her tongue against your walls, had your muscles tensing and twitching. Jaeger's thighs squeezed your head slightly, a guttural groan choking out from behind her helmet as you focus your attention to Jaeger's thighs squeezed around your head slightly. A guttural groan choking out from behind her helmet as you focus your attention on her clit. Pain shot through your temples, metal pieces burying themselves further into your face and head. Blood poured from the small wounds, dripping down Jaeger's legs. Your back ached, pressure on your spine mounting as Jaeger pulled your eSop up, trying to force your mouth as close as possible to her core. That crackle of her radio suddenly sprung to life again, muffled words that increased in volume before the radio silenced again. Camera lights swayed over the subway, lazily following the mesmerizing pattern as if enticing someone to step into the light. With each flick of your tongue against Jaeger's clit, you found her legs tensing against the sides of your head more. The pressure was making your head swim, psychosis symptoms blurring the lines between what was from skull-cracking pressure and your own delirium. Her fingers gripped your eSop tighter, denting the external metal plate as she suddenly went rigid. Her thighs clanked on the sides of your head as she struggled to stand upright still. Your nails dug into the stretched flesh over her upper thighs, slapping at her in a vain attempt to keep her from crushing your head. Your breathing was cut off, suffocating on her cunt, and fluids gushing on her lips and chin. What felt like agonizing minutes was only mere seconds before she suddenly relinquished pressure, your upper body falling limp. Hanging from the eSop, she was still gripping with enough force to continue denting the metal. Blood dripped from the metal braces, droplets landing on your face as you pulled away from her soaked lips. Each breath was haggard, gasping and huffing as you struggled to orientate yourself with the newfound freedom. A sudden tug to your legs earned a yell of surprise, your body getting pulled further over the wooden vault. Jaeger stumbled, her hand letting go of your eSop, hands catching the wooden wall to keep herself from stop falling on you and Gooseberry. Gooseberry's fingers had abandoned your clit, gripping your bruised hip to yank you further over the wooden vault and almost on top of her shoulders. She pulled away slightly, just enough to meet your glazed over stare with her own. You've behaved so well. I think you've earned a treat. She dove back into your folds, tongue pressing against her walls once more and curling slightly. The drill roared to life, barely a moment of dazed comfort remaining before it drilled into an old wound on your thigh. Your upper body flung forward, curling over Gooseberry's head and clawing at her scalp. Short puffs of pained panting was all you could muster, your throat betraying you and from making any other choices. The camera swiveled, turning its attention closer to where you clung to Gooseberry for dear life, riding her tongue as the drill scraped against your bone. Tears pulled at the bottom of your eyes, spilling and mixing with the blood down to your cheeks. Your body spasmed, her body shifting to roughly fall back, pulling you down from on top of her face so you're resting on her face. What? Pulling you from down on top of her face so you're resting on her face. Oh, okay. Never mind. I was gonna say why. I don't think you need that second on top of her face, but anyways, I'm not trying to be semantic here. But the drill bit was yanked from your leg, slicing her own cheek in her own carelessness. Her gloved hand ripped the waist strap on your e-stop, pulling your chest down into a hunch position. Your fingers dug into your squarely hair, sweat dripping down your body, bandages soaking with reopened wounds. Blood splattered on the human face stitched onto Gooseberry, smearing streaks of red as she continued her assault with her tongue. Jaeger's hand suddenly pressed onto your shoulders, forcing your hips to grind down further against Gooseberry's mouth and nose. When she had moved from behind the vault, you weren't sure. Yet it didn't matter in your muddled thoughts. Your nerves were on fire, singing protest and praise at once as your head rocked with your movements. With echoing whispers, Skinnerman crept into the corners of her vision as you suddenly locked eyes with the red light washing over your form. Movement was impossible, both women holding you fast, and once you tried to shift your hips, lean back, and anything to get out of the light of the camera, the drill bit into the top of your hip. A pained hiss, and finally a scream ripped away from your throat. The camera flashed, a loud beep emanating from the metal box, before suddenly jolts of electricity started coursing through you. Your orgasm crashed over you in waves, body jolting and spasming within your grasp. Pain shot from your hip and your chest all at once, your eyes rolling back slightly as more tears streamed down your cheeks. You could barely register the animalistic cry that was your own, the sound extremely foreign to your ears. The pressure of Jaeger's hand left your shoulders, her form slowly retreating towards the incision gate as the radio crackled back to life, with shouting loud enough to hear over the silence blaring from the camera. Your eyes struggled to focus, black tendrils creeping in the corners of your vision as Skinnerman rose from the floor once again, this time approaching your spasming body. You barely noticed when Gooseberry shoved you off of her, gloved hand and wiping her mouth before she also turned to stalk towards the insertion gate, seemingly satisfied with her work. A ghost of a smile that barely crossed your lips as Skinnerman approached, bending down to your level before darkness overtook your vision. Your body was alight with the sensory overload, and it wasn't until the final shock was delivered that the sirens finally stopped blaring. Maybe this new therapy wasn't a bad idea after all. So that's the end here. Can I read character? Oh, can I read comments? I don't know if I need a. Oh. Okay, this one's hottest. Oh, I recognize this person. Hello. Okay, this is hot as fuck for the record. Love how you build tension in the beginning with a great depiction of the trial and the region's exhaustion and emotions. It feels very vibrant and realistic. Then the sex is absolutely great with being sandwiched between those two lovely women, where the blend of fear and arousal and pain is really well described and visceral. Not enough pussy eating in the sound, but you're doing your part for sure. The lingering psychosis is a nice flavor that goes really well with the exhaustion plaguing the reagent. Love how it colors their experiences. Was wondering if the cameras were gonna have any negative effects, and I love how the Xboxers don't know or don't care that how they impact the reagent. Very hot. Love that it kills her, but she's too blissed out to do anything about it. Love how dirty this is. Spectacular work. Yeah, honestly, I guess like for what it is, I think it's pretty well written. I think my main gripe is like basically just like weirdly written sentence. It's not anything to do with like the content or anything. It's just like weirdly written sentences or things spelled wrong that kind of threw me off, and also the fact that it's nearly 4 a.m. at the time of me reading this. So, yeah. Uh, yeah, I'd say generally speaking, I'd agree with this statement. Yeah. Yeah. Uh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, sure. Yes. Um, yeah, that's a funny profile picture. Yeah. This was the last fic I read last night before AO3 went down for maintenance, and it was like having a drug taken away from me as I got hooked onto it. This is so nasty and amazing and beautiful. It makes you sick how good you are at describing sensations. I love this and I want more, and I'm going to try my hardest to not read the rest of your Outlast works all in one night. Thank you for your service. Uh, I don't know. I feel like I feel like given this uh like this way of typing, I'm assuming this is meow fans because they also type like they also like type like stuff like this often. But yeah, oh, this is pretty good. Yeah. Um, I really love how it starts so slow with all the details of downtown and variators, and Franco too. I thought the psychosis was particularly hot when it shoots, and I love the contrast of Eastman might be watching. Bro, the scene where she slowly realizes she's gonna have a sandwich is so good. And again, I really like how you write the details of hiding in these different spots and Moz patrolling and all that. Very immersive, which ends up making the payout better. I was kind of kicking my feet when the pussy eating started, not gonna lie. You wrote it so good. The feeling of her being helpless, cornered, and overwhelmed. Goose taking control and Henry with the want and good girl, then switching positions because they wanted more out of her. Peak spot. It was my first time reading about Goose on Henry, and it delivered. I get it more now. I guess the other thing that is kind of a pet peeve, I guess, is the fact that you have Gooseberry, Franco, and Henrietta all in the same trial, because like generally like you can't have that in the base game itself. So I don't know, that bit kind of brought me out a bit more. I feel like I would like it a little bit more if it was like on a gooseberry trial. Like I don't know. I feel like yeah. Like I feel like I understand why it was on spread the disease because of like how the lever gate was used to like build up uh I guess the main course of this whole fanfic. But yeah, like it's not the worst thing in the world that this was put on a Franco trial. But like I guess I would have probably liked it better if it was on like Toy Factory, for example. Especially given the sexual themes surrounding that environment. But I don't know. That might just be a me thing. Yeah. Okay. That's also a nice profile picture. The Doors one shot brought me into this series of works, and oh my lord, this reading this first one has me kicking my feet in the air now. Yeah. And that's it. Yeah. So overall, this was a pretty fun, fun thing to record. I'm sorry that I stuttered a lot and misread so many sentences. It is 3:46 a.m. where I live right now, and that doesn't really bode well with having to read 5,000 5 point like 5.3k words or something. Uh, I saw while like trying to test that there were 16 parts of this. I don't know. I frankly don't feel like reading the. Sorry, frankly speaking, I don't feel like making videos on all 16. On all 16 of these because I'm already kind of struggling reading this one. Um, maybe I have undiagnosed dyslexia. Maybe it's just me having to just sleep more. I don't know. Uh, yeah. I don't know. It's still fun to read though. I got. I guess I didn't have as visceral of a reaction. I was kind of like, oh, and like, okay, I see where this is going. That kind of like those kinds of reactions. So I don't know. Uh, anyways, I I hope you guys enjoyed my rambling, and sorry for disturbing your ears by trying to what's it called? By trying to like reenact Goosery and Jaeger's voice. But yeah, I guess thanks for listening to me read, and bye.